Hello, am I audible?
Hi, Anika. Am I audible?
Yes, you are. Good
How are you?
morning.
Good morning. Good
Before we
afternoon.
start, good afternoon. Well, I'm in India, so it's good morning for me.
Oh, you're in India as well. Where are you right now?
Yeah, I'm in Delhi.
Ah, fine. Around the corner then. Where same city.
Yes, welcome to Delhi. How would you like me to address you?
Ayan.
Ayan, is that how you pronounce it? Because I always call it Ayan, but it's Ayan.
It's Ayana actually, if you want to say it correctly. Ayan.
Ayan.
Ayan. Yeah, Ayan.
Ayan. Okay,
Ayan.
I'm going to go with Ayan. All right. Ready when you are?
I'm ready, Anika. Let's go for it.
Well, thank you for speaking to Indus Age Australia. We're thrilled for your upcoming film, Brahmastra. In a variety interview recently, you said Brahmastra is very inspired by Indian mythology and Indian culture and set in the modern world with modern characters. So, in many ways, it's a modern mythology of our own. I felt like there was something that had just not been done. And it surprised me that nobody's done it. Nobody's really touched in a modern way this fantasy, larger than life cinema on ancient powers of this ancient land that is India. The first part of the trilogy is called Shiva, who, amongst the holy trinity of Hinduism, is the destroyer. Did any ancient texts inspire the script?
Um, no, not text. It wasn't, Anika, very honestly. Everything I read up on Hindu philosophy and on ancient India actually came later. To be very honest, uh, when I embarked on the venture, I was inspired by Indian spirituality in a very sort of organic way, in the way in which like a lot of like modern people living in the world, as they sort of, go about their lives, think about their lives, sort of like reflect on their faith, come to it. But I felt something, and it's always been that feeling that has like inspired me or pushed me towards work and creating anything. So it wasn't a very academic approach when I began. Now we put a lot of like words on it, and I've found a way to articulate it in a way that perhaps sounds a little intelligent. But I came to it in a very organic way where I felt like there was some sense of spirituality, the concept of like vibrations, energies. And I felt that this is a concept which is very subliminally present in India. And that if I wanted to make a big fantasy blockbuster film, it would be so much more interesting if I kind of drew from this place because I was very naturally in that place in my life as well. So that was actually the origin of it, the journey into Brahmastra. So it makes sense to
Fantastic.
you?
It does. It's you're probing into the visceral rather than the textual, essentially.
Right,
Uh,
right.
Very interesting. Fantasy in India, using the westernized version, has seldom been extremely successful. Although I thought Shaktiman was quite successful for me, but in the mythology space, we had legendary shows like Chandrakanta, Mahabharata, that rocked the Doordarshan airwaves of modern India.
Hmm.
How is this contemporary attempt going to bring back Indian mytho fantasy into our popular imagination?
Well, you know, uh, Anika, again, the answer to it is not very academic. I hope that when you just experience the film, that like the way in which we as like modern Indians sort of live our modern lives, but also perhaps have like, an aspect to our lives, which is spiritual again, the way in which that blend sort of exists. I hope that in the fantasy genre, Brahmastra does that very naturally because the film is actually based around the concept of energies, and energies that were harnessed in ancient India. And the mythology that we've created uh, for this thesis of ours is that these energies were captured in a bunch of astras. Uh, but the only way to connect with these astras is if you reach a slightly heightened state of energy within yourself as well. Think of it like being in a very heightened state of yoga or like meditativeness,
Yeah.
and uh, and again, I think that the takeaway, uh, the way in which the film will perhaps make you feel connected with Indian roots will be very sort of like natural when you watch the film.
Right. Uh, I must confess, my background academically is in archaeology and art history. So
Mm.
it's been a while that we've been hearing Brahmastra coming about, and I've
God,
been
I'm
absolutely
almost scared
stoked.
speaking to you now, Anika, because you're gonna have your eyes like on the film in all kinds of ways. Being
So
like,
here's my next question.
right, 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 right.
So, because I worked in archaeology and art history, I understand, in the Indian context, in Indian mythology, symbology, or as we call it, iconography, plays a very important role in sort of representing deities. Now, we have very little information as to what this film's going to be, right? But this being called Shiva, I'm assuming that there may be a representation of a deity or an image of him somewhere who, is quite iconic with the snake, the skull cap, the crescent, and all of that. Did you, again, consult some kind of experts in terms of how to bring in the visceral nature of these deities in the film so that it immediately connects with the popular imagination?
So, to be honest, Anika, there's not a lot of deities in the film. There are these objects of power, these astras in the
Mhm.
film. Um, we did consult a few people. We like spoke to some like history professors from like a few colleges, and we did a bit of our research. But I felt very nervous about it, because there is a level at which like you do your best, and then because it's a fantasy movie, you eventually fly off the handle and again approach it in a very visceral fashion, and you do eventually what you think is um, going to be fun and work for the film. But I don't know, when you see the film, you're going to have to give me this sense that, Ayan, you did a good job. I think you covered your bases well, the way the objects look, etc. It all feels like it all sort of, comes together perfectly. I should have someone like you actually come and watch the film and tell me, like, how you think things add up in it. The name Shiva, also to be very honest, came to me in a very natural way. I have been very fascinated from all our gods by the concept of Shiva and my own sort of like relation with Lord Shiva. And I named him Shiva because I am a devotee of Lord Shiva in my own life.
Let's.
I felt like I'm making this film drawing from India's roots. I have friends who are called Shiva. I'm going to name my character Shiva. A lot of it then started to unfold actually after the naming. So I think there are aspects of like of what we know of Lord Shiva that we will see in the film, but there's also stuff which is perhaps just me. You know.
Well, very excited to see that. The cast of this film has some of the best actors from the industry. We're all very excited to see them come together on screen again. How did you get them together, and what's your process in developing the structure of a trilogy? Because that is something that we Indians seldom do see come about. So we're quite excited about it.
So, Anika, I'll keep it short about the cast. The cast is incredible. They've obviously
Mhm.
added it. We have a feeling Brahmastra is a very exciting film. People want to watch it. Obviously, the cast contributes a lot to it. The concept of the film, creating a fantasy set in the modern world, this like ambitious blockbuster film, and sort of with this very original concept hanging on top of it, that was bigger than the cast. That was a part of the film, honestly. Like as we were working with them as well, it never felt like these are big stars that we are working with, or like it's while they had their characters, the concept of the film has always been bigger than the characters as well,
Yeah.
at some level. The trilogy, again, I was a big fan of trilogies myself. I was thinking of the first three Star Wars films when this journey began. I was thinking of the three Lord of the Rings films that I was a huge fan of when this began. The holy trinity of Hinduism is, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. I had written a story where you will discover when you see the film, what is the actual Brahmastra in the film is broken into three pieces. And I swear it came to me as a three-part story. Like when you first chance upon an idea before you investigate it, it arrived as like a three-film arc, and I thought that was beautiful. If I have such a long story to tell, like every film adds on the excitement of the previous film. So I went for it.
Good. Your films in the past, I've really enjoyed them. They always felt like a young people's collective. They have a freshness of almost good friends coming together and creating something quite wonderful, grand, but it had a sense of casualness to it, where we as young people could relate to it. How is the energy of the actors going to be different in this film?
Well, I don't know. I think there is an aspect of that which, right now you don't see very much in Brahmastra, because we've really not shown a lot of the film or put stuff out. But, in the way...
Be very secretive.
We are actually not that secretive, Anika. My plan is we've started now promoting the film 9 months before we plan to launch it, which is very long for an Indian film to promote itself. So I actually plan to share a lot of the film because I really believe that with as much as I share, you'll still be surprised with the film. I feel it's so high on like creativity and imagination that I'm actually very happy to share a lot of the film. It's the modern fantasy aspect of it, which will, you'll start seeing gradually the relationship between Ranbir and Alia, Shiva and Isha's characters in the film. As you start seeing it, I think you will see reflections of some of that casual, youthful vibe that my previous films had. I think that's going to be present in Brahmastra as well, and it is a part of it. And how is it different? I mean, it's different in so many ways. When you just see that first unit that we've put out, Shiva, I mean, it's just different in so many ways. I don't even know where. I think it's like self-evident, the ways in which it's sort of like scaled up, intense, more powerful, more spiritual. Yeah.
Yeah, that was my last question. But at the end of the day, we waited a long time, and we're very excited for this magnum opus to come about. And we hope in the future you can consult us, archaeologists and art historians, for your mythological characters. But we get it. This is going to be big. We're so excited. You worked so hard on it, and we all wish you all the best for the future.
Thank you so much, Anika.
Thank you so much for speaking to us.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Cheers. All right. I think that's it from us.
Australia's first Indian magazine to have a national reach, Indus Age is the largest circulated South Asian magazine in Australia with 5 simultaneous editions, 55,000 copies printed monthly, 220,000 readers, largest network of clients, undisputed leader in community news. Indus Age is circulated in Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, Brisbane and Perth to over 525 outlets. Grab your copy now to get the latest on the community, news from India, Bollywood, music and much more. For more info, log on to www.indusage.com.au.